I want you to think about that feeling that you get when a client asks for just one more favor. You're sitting at your desk on a Thursday evening, finally wrapping up a project, and then your phone lights up. It's a text from a client, one of your favorites possibly. Hey, could we add one more round of revisions? And also, would you mind hopping on a quick call tomorrow to talk through this? Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches because you know that that quick call is going to take a whole hour. And that one more round is going to cost you your entire Friday morning. I want to tell you about a client I had to fire. Let's call him Kevin. Great client on paper, paid on time, gave compliments, referred other people. We're talking about the kind of client that you brag about in like a business mastermind, or you're talking about, with other business buddies. But behind the scenes, Kevin was killing my business. Every quick thing added up to an extra 15 hours a month that I wasn't billing for. I was losing money on a client that everyone thought was my best one. And here's the part that really messed with me. I couldn't bring myself to say anything because he was so nice, because he paid on time, but also because what if I set a boundary and he left? That fear, the fear of losing a good client by being honest about what isn't working. It's one of the most expensive fears in business. Today, my friend, I want you to think of this as a private session between you and I, just us in the room. And I'm going to teach you how to set boundaries with your clients that protect your profit, your energy, and your sanity without destroying the relationships that matter most. Let's get to work. I'm Luis Baez, and I've spent over 15 years in sales leadership and revenue enablement. I was recruited to work at major tech companies like LinkedIn and Google and Uber and Tesla, where I contributed to over 600 million in revenue impact. And now I work with management consultants and fractional executives and boutique agency founders. And I help them replace that exhaustion of the hustle with systems that finally get them oxygen so that they can scale. I've coached hundreds of founders through boundary setting conversations just like this one inside the booked busy paid accelerator. And I've learned that the people who are the best at their work are usually the worst at protecting their time. Excellence attracts requests. Requests without systems become scope creep. And scope creep, when left unchecked, becomes burnout. This is how we fix it, my friend. Let me quantify what bad boundaries are actually costing. I worked with a boutique agency founder named Danny. She was running projects at a 20% margin. Her industry benchmark was 40 to 50%. When we audited her delivery, we discovered that every project was ballooning from 6 weeks to 12 weeks because of scope additions that she kept saying yes to. She wasn't billing for any of it. And she told me, well, they're a good client and, I want to be helpful and, I just want to make sure that I'm the first person they think about. And so we calculated the true cost. We're talking about $120,000 per year in free work. That's not generosity. That is a boundary problem disguised as customer service. And it wasn't just the money, it was the time. Those extra hours on scope creep projects were hours that she couldn't spend on business development, new clients, on her health, on her family. She was giving away her most valuable resource to clients that didn't even know that they were taking it because she never told them. That's the thing about boundaries. Most scope creep doesn't happen because clients are malicious. It happens because the rules were never established. No one drew the line, so nobody knew that they were crossing it. The good news is that this is absolutely fixable, and the framework is simpler than you think. I call this the scope sanctuary protocol, and it has three layers: prevention, protection, and the hard conversation. Layer one is prevention, and this is where 90% of boundary problems get solved before they ever start. Prevention happens during the onboarding process. Before any work begins, you establish what's included, what's not included, how changes are handled, and what happens when someone requests something that's outside of scope. So, in your kickoff meeting, you say something exactly like this: I want to make sure that we're set up for success. Here's exactly what's included in the engagement. Here is the timeline for delivery. Here are the milestones of our work so that we know we're making progress. And if anything comes up that falls outside of that scope, which happens all the time and is totally normal, here's how we handle it. I'll scope it out. I'll send you a change order with the updated pricing. We'll decide together if it makes sense to add it. That one paragraph, that one statement, you just say that one time with that warmth and that professionalism, and that's going to prevent 80% of scope creep for the rest of the engagement because you've set the expectation that additional requests are welcome, but they come with pricing. The boundary isn't punitive, it's professional. Layer two is protection. So, this is how you handle requests in real time because they do come up mid project, right? There's a three-step process to this: acknowledge, clarify, and offer. Acknowledge, that's a great idea. I can absolutely see how that would add value. Clarify, that falls outside the current scope, which is focused on the three deliverables that we outlined. Adding it would be a separate engagement. Offer, if you'd like to move forward with it, I can send over a change order with pricing and timelines. Do you want me to scope that out? Notice the tone. You're not saying no, you're saying yes. And here's what that looks like. You're being generous with your willingness and firm with your boundary. Both are possible at the same time, my friend, and I never want you to forget that. Most clients respect this. In fact, they usually respect you more for it because it signals that you run a professional operation. You're not winging it, but you're leading it instead. Layer three is the hard conversation. This is for the client who consistently pushes boundaries despite your prevention and your protection systems being in place. This is the client that I had to fire. This was my Kevin. And it's the conversation that most business owners avoid until they're already resentful, exhausted, or losing money. Here's how I coach people through this kind of conversation: start with the data, not emotion. I've noticed that our last three projects have expanded significantly beyond the original scope. On the more recent one, we delivered roughly $15,000 worth of additional work beyond what was contracted. Then pause for a second, name the impact. What that means is that the engagement is no longer sustainable at its current structure. And I want to be honest with you about that rather than let the quality of my work suffer. And then you pause again and offer a path forward. So I see three options. We can restructure the retainer to reflect the actual scope of work. We can return to the original scope and handle additions through change orders. Or if neither of those feel right, I can help you transition to someone who might be a better fit for the expanded needs. That third option is powerful, not because you want them to leave, but because it demonstrates that you're willing to walk away. And that willingness changes the dynamic entirely. You're not desperate, you're selective, and selective people attract better clients. Here's the identity shift that makes all of this work. Most people think boundaries are about saying no, but they're not. Boundaries are about saying yes to the right things. When you set a boundary with a client who's taking too much, you're saying yes to the other clients who deserve your best work. You're saying yes to your own health and your energy. You're saying yes to the business you're trying to build, not the one that's slowly consuming you. Put your oxygen mask on first, my friend. You've heard me say that before, and I mean it. You can't serve anyone well if you're depleted. You can't deliver excellence if you're resentful, and you're definitely not going to grow your business if every ounce of your energy is going to clients who don't even realize that they're draining you. I want to tell you what happened after I fired Kevin. So within 30 days, I filled that spot with a new client who respected the scope from day one, paid more, required less, and referred two other clients who were equally professional. Kevin wasn't upset. He said, "You know what? I respect that. I want someone who runs their business this way working with me, right?" And respected exactly my position. That's what happens when you set boundaries with grace. You don't lose respect, you earn it because the people who matter, the clients that you actually want, are looking for someone who runs a tight operation, someone who values their own time enough to protect it. The clients who get angry when you set boundaries, those aren't your people. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner your business starts breathing. If you're in a situation right now where a client relationship is draining you and you're not sure how to have that hard conversation, or if your entire delivery system needs boundaries built into it from the ground up, that's exactly what we can work on together. An alignment call with me is where we look at your delivery, your boundaries, and your capacity, and then we figure out what needs to change so that your business serves you instead of consuming you. Go to bookedbusypaid.com and book a time directly with me on my calendar. This is Unhustling, where we build slower, breathe deeper, and still get it all done on our own terms. I'm Luis Baez, and I'm in your corner.